Hey, Anthony Tord here, going to be talking about step one, the first step to getting out of debt. Finally. More information can be found at successinliving.com. We also can be found on Facebook. We have a page, successinliving.com. And we've been talking about, why to get out of debt, that it's actually possible to get totally out of debt in 7 to 10 years. I know it sounds crazy, but mathematically, you're going to see how this will work. But the first thing here is you want to do it. You've come to the table. You're at this next step. So thanks for taking the next step. I congratulate you. God bless you in that. If you ask for his help, he'll definitely help you. It's a big thing sometimes to get out of debt. Trust me, I know. I have a long story to tell you about that. But I really just want to help you move on. And one of the things I've learned here is, first step, get things down on paper. List all your debts, what the monthly payment is, create a budget of expenses. Write down everything that you're spending on monthly. And of course, each debt will have a monthly payment associated with your budget. But write all your expenses down, where the money's going. Then list your income. And for some of you, it might be the first time you realized why you're in debt. Okay, because you might be spending $500 extra a month. I know I was in that situation. Quickly realized why we were getting so far behind, because we were spending more than we made. That sounds easy and simple, but it can happen to you very subtly and very quickly, but can last for a long time, and debts can accumulate. So one of the most freeing things, it's just like going on a trip, is to find out where you are and where you're going. How many of you, raise your hand if you love traveling? I know my wife loves traveling. So the most exciting thing is where we come to a point where we know where we are and we know where we're going. That's called vision, and it gets us excited, and there's a lot of hope attached to vision. So don't let this step be daunting. Don't let it discourage you. It's kind of like identifying the enemy. Put it right down on paper. The worst enemy is one you don't know about. So once you've done that, and you see whether you're spending too much every month or you're just in debt, and maybe you have a few extra $100 a month, but you're just not sure where it's going, that's the next step, is to get organized. Systems are even better than habits, because all of us get tired. Sometimes habits are based on how you feel. I love the idea of habits, but sometimes you're just too tired to work out, too tired to do the bills or whatever. But if you set up a system, systems are more powerful, because one act triggers the next, and they almost begin to operate by themselves. It's kind of like the water cycle, okay? The water comes down, the heat hits it, evaporates, goes back up and comes down. So create a system that works for you. For example, every 2 weeks you get paid. Maybe you get a direct deposit. You can have a folder that has the bills to be paid, and so on and so forth. So the money comes in, you have your budget on a piece of paper, you have the bills that have to be paid, and you just go ahead and pay them. Okay, so there's more about systems that I'll talk about, but the basic idea is to get organized, put your bills in one place. I use a nice little file box. I have a little envelope for each bill that I get. So if it's my electric or whatever, by the end of the year, I have all those neatly stacked in there. So you can have your budget in that box. Payday comes, you pull your budget out, you see what's got to be paid. One envelope for the bills that have to be paid, and you're developing this system. Now, each of us are going to do something a little different. I'm not proposing one system, but one of the things that works for me as well is I have a few different accounts. I have a business account, personal, and so forth. So I use a program called Mint, mint.com, and that helps consolidate anything that I'm spending. Even if it's in one account, I can categorize it, and I can create a budget online, and I can see what I'm spending. I can set goals and do all kinds of cool stuff with Mint. successinliving.com. So second step there is get yourself organized. All right. So beyond that, you're looking for a margin that you can begin to pay off debts yourself. And I'm going to be speaking more about this in your debt options. Like I said, all of this can be found at successinliving.com. Go to finances and look for the debt portion. But I'm going to talk about the many different options that you have. But obviously the first thing here is begin to cut expenses that you just don't need. I'll give you some examples. I found out a really cool service called MagicJack. MagicJack.com. You get this little this thingy that you put in your computer, and you put the phone line in the back, and I got rid of my phone. That was $32 a month. After I went through cutting expenses, it was about $150 a month, and you just cut out the fat. So now you have this margin that will stop you from going further behind. You can start paying debts off with that extra. And we're going to be talking about, well, what if you don't have extra, and so on and so forth. But this is your first step. You're organized, you have a system, you know if you have some extra in your budget or if you don't, and you just start cutting the fat out. I mean, it's amazing when you get on this path. I ended up cutting about $400 worth out, and I'll explain more about that later. So this has been Anthony Tort with Success in Living and taking your first steps to getting out of debt. God bless. Talk to you soon.